Welcome into the Sportsmemo NFL opening line report with Teddy Covers. Teddy, welcome into the podcast. How are you?
Hey, great to be here, Drew.
Well, good to have you, man. I know what we were just talking off, and you're pretty down on yourself, 0-2 in the 0-2-1 on the Sunday NFL, but overall still up. Overall in the weekend up, so don't be too down on yourself, bud.
I know. I mean, the NBA, we had a good weekend. In college football, we had a real good weekend. You know, outright winners with Boise, and outright winner with Cal, and outright winner with Northwestern. You know, but my NFL has been real good all year, and I danced around winners and ended up playing losers, and I was pissed. You know, you think I'm mad this morning? You should have seen me yesterday. So what do you do when you have a bad NFL weekend? When you make the wrong cuts, when you make the wrong decisions? I'll tell you what you do. You sit down and you do your freaking work for the next week with a little bit of an edge. So let's take a look at this week's opening lines, talk about where the lines are going to move, and see if we can get some early edges in the action for this coming Sunday. For whatever it's worth, I like the card this week. There's some good looking matchups. I like it better than I like the card, obviously, this past Sunday a fair bit.
Yeah, and Teddy, overall, good in the NFL, 21-12, 64% NFL year-to-date. And even better, in my opinion, 160, 116. That's 58% in the NFL for 3+ years now. That's a hell of a record there. Teddy, keep that up. And guys, we got a special coupon code for this podcast on his 7-day all access. We're doing Teddy60 is the coupon code for 60% off the next 7 days, all access with Teddy Covers. That's every play in every sport that Teddy releases. And also, it's $9 Monday on sportsmemo.com, so every play is $9. Teddy has a 3-pack available in the NBA up on sportsmemo.com. We'll also include that in the Teddy60, so all you have to do is type in Teddy60 in the coupon code area, and you will get 60% off his NBA play as well tonight. He's over 60% in the NBA off the start. But Teddy, let's get into the games. NFL opening line report style. We got, I guess first, we got the Monday games still up here. Do you have any quick opinion here on the Giants visiting San Francisco? Looks like it's San Francisco minus 345 the total tonight.
You know, at 3.5, I have to take a look at the Giants, but actually placing a bet on the New York Giants is not something I'm particularly excited about. They're saying all the right things. You know, the quotes coming out of the bye week are fine. Nick Mullins, again, a guy comes in and has one great start. Doesn't mean he's going to do it twice in a row. And of course, statistically, it's funny. You look at these two teams' statistical profiles, the Giants and the 49ers, both of them have the stats of a 4-5 kind of team, a mediocre kind of team, not the bottom feeders that they've been. I think, we're talking about two teams that are the worst of the two have been outgained by 0.1 yards per play this year. So, mediocre stats, but lean to the G-men, and I mean lean. This is not a game that I will get to the Giants, even at 3.5. It's going to stay in the lean category. Total-wise, we've seen a fair bit of over money. I don't disagree with that. I wouldn't be surprised if both these teams are chucking it around tonight. So I probably lean over as well. But I haven't taken any money out of my pocket. I haven't bet this game on any of my accounts. And I doubt that I will before kickoff.
All right, Teddy, the Thursday nighter. We got Green Bay going on the road after their win over the Dolphins, facing the Seattle Seahawks. 49 the total, with Seattle laying mostly 2.5s at home. Yeah,
and, we've seen, a huge adjustment. Seattle, the look-ahead line was Seattle -2. And they lost yesterday. Green Bay won and looked good. And yet the opener here, we're looking at 2.5s, and it looks like it's going to 3. My powering number only has the Seahawks -1. In this ball game. We know, and this is really the first time I've seen it, but we know that the Thursday night road teams have struggled all year. It's one thing when you're taking a bus ride, and we saw Philly beat the Giants, we saw San Fran beat the Raiders, but by and large, more often than not, the teams that have to travel on the short week are having a very rough time. This is most assuredly baked into this number. Otherwise, I think this game would have come much closer to pick them, even though the Seahawks, once again, look good in defeat against the Rams. They look good in defeat in both of those games against LA, able to run the football very effectively, and that's what Seattle has to do if they're going to be an elite team. I don't know if this line gets to 3. I'm not seeing the indicators that it will. I think at 3 there will be immediate buyback on Green Bay. We have seen a little bit of money towards the over here, but not a lot. Right now it looks like it's going 2.5, 49/49.5 moving forward. Not a game that I'm expecting a dramatic line move, and I don't know that it gets to 3. So it's not like you got to bet Seattle right now if you want to bet them. I don't see that.
Really? Okay, because I mean, I've noticed, the NFL away team having to make the trip on a short week. You say by and large, I mean, it has been a casher this year, just fading that trip. I could see 3s popping up, Teddy. No?
I mean, we could see 3s popping up, but Green Bay's a popular team, and at +3, there'll be action on the Packers. So again, we could get there. I'm not seeing from the markets what I'm trying to do on a Monday morning with all of these games. I'm going to give you a look-ahead line, the bettable line from last week. I'm going to give you my powering number. But the goal of this pod is say, where's this line going? And I'm not seeing the indicator. I mean, it could go to 3. I wouldn't be shocked if it did, but I'm not seeing the indicators on my live odds screen right now that are saying, you got to bet this one ASAP. It just it doesn't feel that way.
All right, fair enough. And talking about fading those Thursday night road teams, Carolina was that team last week. They're on the road again at Detroit. Looks like 3.5, a couple 4s out there as well. 52 the total. This is the first game up on the Sunday slate.
Yeah, and this is one, again, I'm not going to throw emergency betting alert here, but if you like Carolina, find a 3.5 now and bet them. This is why. The line's not going down to 3. Okay, it's only going to go up 3.5 to 4. Already a good handful of books, including some leading indicator books, already at 4. Certainly, all the public books are at 4 already. Bookmakers sitting at 4 right now on Carolina. So while it's a split line overall, it's not going to go down. It can only go up. So if you like the favorite, you want to bet it sooner rather than later. And then the markets are going to crash on Detroit here. 3 straight bad efforts for the Lions. Came out of the bye, looked awful, had the miserable road trip against the Vikings and the Bears, didn't get a cover in any of those ball games. Stafford under pressure, the offense not looking good. Whereas Carolina, the market's going to say, oh, last week was the blip. They had the bad game on the short week. Panthers are fine. Cam Newton's fine. All good. You can already sense which way the markets are thinking about these teams. Of course, look-ahead line here was only Carolina -2.5. Bettable numbers from the Westgate Superbook last week. And my powering number, even after Detroit's ugly performance yesterday and Carolina's showing on Thursday, and I didn't downgrade the Panthers off that effort. My numbers here is like 2.75. It's less than a field goal for Carolina. So there is certainly some market support for the Panthers already.
Teddy, staying at the 10 a.m. Pacific kickoffs, we got Dallas at
a big win on Sunday Night Football against Philadelphia to save their season and to get me within a half. What do I need? No, I need one more loss for the Eagles down the stretch to cash my under Philadelphia a season win bet. Those season win bets are looking pretty good right about now, though. I don't need the Bills to win any more frickin' games. But the bottom line here for Dallas-Atlanta is we have a Falcons team that was a no-show yesterday. They were a no-show from the get-go. The offense didn't click. The defense didn't click. Baker Mayfield had the best game of his career against Atlanta. And now, in theory, it's supposed to be circle the wagons time. They'd won 3 in a row. They're returning home. Their season may be over, but I don't expect them to play like it. The markets don't expect them to play like it either. But, of course, Dallas looked good on national TV last night with Zeke Elliott running the football effectively. And, of course, Dallas's problem has been on the offensive side of the football. They haven't been able to move the football against good defenses. Well, Atlanta, they haven't had a good defense all season long. So, and, of course, the Cowboys looking good on national TV. I can understand why the line is down from the look ahead of 4.5. And even from my powering number of 4, I can understand why we're seeing some Cowboy support. 3.5 looks like where this line is going to be. If you like Dallas, I don't think it's going to hurt you to grab the 3.5 now. I say it's more likely to go down than it is to go up moving forward. Total's just sitting there at 47.5. Haven't seen any action on that yet.
Teddy, game number 455, 456, Cincinnati at Baltimore. Not seeing any lines with this game. Not sure how you want to go at this.
This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a look-ahead line, which is 4.5 for Baltimore. I'm going to give you my powering number, and this is a Joe Flacco powering number. That's 6.5 for the Ravens after the Bengals. I mean, that was an ugly defensive performance again yesterday. Cincinnati's on pace to have the worst defense in NFL history when it comes to yards. However, Joe Flacco is hurt. Joe Flacco is a hip. There was talk, we don't know what's going to happen with Flacco. There could be Lamar Jackson for Baltimore. And that, in my mind, would merit a significant adjustment. How much do you adjust for Flacco? Because Flacco hasn't been that good, and maybe Lamar Jackson brings something, but Lamar Jackson's he's raw. He's a raw rookie. I don't know what the markets will adjust. I would probably adjust at least a field goal between the two. I don't know the markets will adjust that much. But again, look ahead 4.5. My powering number with Flacco, 6.5, based on the Bengals looking so ugly again yesterday. And of course, there's some coaches we don't like with extra time to repair. Marvin Lewis. There's some coaches we do like with extra time to repair, and that'd be Mr. Harbaugh. So the situation sets up well for Baltimore, in theory, coming out of the bye.
Teddy, we got the rotation numbers 4-5-7, 4-5-8, but the time of the Sunday night game, Minnesota-Chicago. You ever see this? Not the Sunday night game at the end here?
No, they're flexing them. They flex them out now. So they originally it was going to be Pittsburgh-Jacksonville on Sunday night. Now that the Jags stink, they flexed the Bears and the Vikings into the Sunday night game.
Makes a lot of sense. Thanks for the clarification. We got Minnesota, Chicago. Looks like the Bears laying 3 at home, 45.5 the total.
Look ahead line was 2. My powering number is 1. And yet the market's a little bit high on the Chicago Bears right now. They play good football. And Reese Mr. Trubisky was strong, was solid yesterday. That being said, the money's going to come for the Vikings. If you like Minnesota, find a 3. There's still a couple of them out there. Not a couple. There's a good handful of them out there. I don't think the Bears go off as 3-point favorites. I think the wise guys will be on Minnesota here situationally. Certainly, with one team coming off a feisty divisional matchup, the other team coming off a bye, and we like Zimmer. We like Zimmer's teams off a bye. I would expect there will be some Vikings money. And while Trubisky looked good yesterday against the Lions' pass defense, Trubisky, there are plenty of question marks about Mr. Trubisky moving forward, even though he is coming off a good effort.
Teddy, we got Philadelphia at New Orleans up next. Limited marketplace here, not seeing any totals, with just a couple 7.5s out there at South Point right now. I'm seeing in Vegas.
Yeah, there's some injury concerns here, and I really don't know what they're holding it for. Nelson Aguilar is going to be a question mark. Darren Sproles is going to keep a line off the board, or Sidney Jones or Lane Johnson. I mean, I honestly don't know why there is no line on this ballgame. It's not the type of players that are questionable that tend to keep a game like this off the board. I think we'll see a line on this game sooner rather than later. Look ahead line here was 6.5. My powering number is 8.5. And, you want to talk about a team with a really big betting bandwagon right now. Let's take a public team to begin with in New Orleans, and let's put them on, what have they won now? 6? They've won 8 in a row overall, and they've covered the last 7. So when you cover 7 points in a row and everyone wants you, you're gonna get prices like this. That being said, the Eagles, a bad loss last night to Dallas at home off a bye in a kind of a must-win, circle the wagons kind of game. And it's one thing not to cover; it's another thing to lose in straight-up fashion. But it's the same story with the Eagles. Their defense can't stop anybody, and when you have a defense that can't stop the run and is getting burned repeatedly by the pass, and you're going against New Orleans, you're not likely to get a whole lot of market support. This line at 7.5, even though the look ahead was only 6.5. At 7.5, I would think the line will go up. There's a big bandwagon for the Saints backers, and they continue to make money every week betting on this team.
Teddy killing it on the NFL opening line report. And guys, remember the coupon code TEDDY60 at checkout for a 7-day all-access. Also, check out sportsmemo.com for his 3-pack in the NBA. TEDDY60 will work out that as well for 60% off his NBA play today. Over 60% year-to-date on the hardwood. We got Tennessee at Indianapolis, Teddy. 48 the total, seeing 2.5s across the board. That's Indy laying 2.5.
Yeah, there were 3s. There were 3s from the opener. The look-ahead line here was Indy -3. My power rating is 2.5, and the markets have pretty well moved to 2.5 on this ballgame. The Tennessee Titans starting to get some real respect in the markets off back-to-back wins, and the way they did it in those 2 victories. The physical style of play, where Tennessee is taking it to teams. And I don't know that that's going to work. That I would think that would work fairly well against the Colts, who aren't really that physical style of football team. A little bit more finesse with it. Although the defense has shown some physicality I mean, a big first half for Andrew Luck against Jacksonville yesterday, and then really hung on and barely hung on for the victory in that ball game. A missed extra point gave them the point spread. Well, it gave them a push in that contest for most bettors, right? In a very similar point spread range where we see this one. But, again, it's Tennessee off a real public showing in a national TV game, followed by a big upset win over the New England Patriots. The betting markets notice stuff like that, and I'm not surprised at all. We've seen Tennessee money, and as for Indy, the 3 wins that they have in a row, yeah, it's Raiders, it's Bills, and it's Jaguars. So while the markets, there's been a little bit of support for Indy, I don't think that the markets, it'll take a win this week for the Colts for the markets really start giving them a whole lot of respect. 2.5 looks to me like the prevailing number moving forward. I don't think this one gets back up to 3 at any point this week.
Teddy, we got 463, 464. Houston at Washington. Looks like Houston laying 2.5. Seeing 3s at Chris and Heritage. 42.5 the total.
Get the siren.
Hey.
Did you? Yeah, we keep on saying, "Oh, next week I'm going to get a sound effect for this." But I think it's more funny when I make a really bad British ambulance or something.
Yes, please. That works.
This line's going to 3. If you like the Texans, bet them sooner, not later. The 2.5s are there now. It's a split market, as you said. This line is going to 3 everywhere. Washington, yes, they got the win yesterday. They also became the first team in NFL history to allow 500 yards to give up only 3 points. One of the more incredible box scores, one of the more incredible drive charts you'll ever see. And I mean, there was a ton of talk about it yesterday, obviously. But let's just say I'll give the Redskins credit for bend but don't break. I'll give them credit for creating turnovers. I don't know if I'm going to give credit for making missed field goals, but we can give them credit for getting stops. In the red zone to force the field goal attempts. But a Washington team that is offensive line deficient, that doesn't create big plays, they're not going to get betting market love over a Texans team coming out, with this 1-6 straight coming out of a bye week. It's just not going to work that way. So you can anticipate some Houston money. We've already seen some. We could well see more. Look ahead line here was only a pick 'em. My powering number pick 'em as well. All that being said, I do expect the Texans to go off as 3-point favorites.
Teddy, we got Tampa Bay at the New York Giants. Limited marketplace here. I know Don Best was having some issues with the pick'ems, but I am seeing a pick'em at Westgate and South Point. Not sure what you got on this one.
Yeah, and we're looking at pick'em. I see a Giants -1 out there at CG right now. But yeah, look ahead line here was Tampa -1. My powering number is the Giants -1.5, and I had to downgrade Tampa. Even though they put up a good box score yesterday, that's a game they're supposed to win. That's a game that could give them life. This is a team that's one win since their 2-0 start. They're 1-6 their last 7. But of course, the markets aren't going to be full on this game until we see the Giants on Monday Night Football tonight. If the Giants look good, if you're betting the Giants tonight, make 2 bets. If you're going to take them plus the 3.5s are mostly gone. You can still find 3.5. So if you take them plus 3.5 tonight, take them at pick 'em. Against Tampa for next week as well. One would anticipate if the Giants look good that the line would come a little bit higher than the pick'ems or ones that we're seeing right now, even though the look ahead was Tampa -1.
Heading out west, Teddy, 1 p.m. Pacific kick. Denver at the LA Chargers, 46.5 the total. Looks like 7's pretty much across the board. That's the Chargers laying it at home.
Yeah, the Broncos, another team coming off a bye. And the markets tend to like those type of teams, especially as road underdogs. Look ahead line here was LA -7. My powering number is LA -8. I haven't been high on Denver all year. I'm not high on Denver now. They fought the good fight, but they're not. They're a vulnerable team. The Chargers now 6 straight wins, and certainly a team that has built up their fair share of a betting bandwagon with the win and cover yesterday. But even then, again, it's the same story with LA. Okay, they didn't have missed extra points and missed field goals yesterday, but boy, they caught a bunch of breaks. They had goal line stand that kept Oakland out of the end zone. They had, the turnover battle worked well in their favor. One would anticipate at least some Broncos support in the markets, but not enough to move it off of 7. This is not an emergency betting alert game. I don't see this line doing a whole lot throughout the course of the week, side or total. Although we have seen a little bit of indication that this total could get bet down. There's a couple 47s out there. If you like the under, I bet it's sooner rather than later.
Teddy, we got an ugly one here. Oakland at Arizona, 40.5 the total. Somebody's got to lay something. Arizona laying 4, seeing a couple 3.5s out there. Cardinals laying it at home.
Look ahead line, Arizona -3. My powering number, and this is kind of intriguing. It surprised me. I'm like, I really have Arizona 4.5 over Oakland?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd have Arizona 4.5 over anyone, but the Raiders are now 32. I've got Buffalo ahead of them. I've got Arizona ahead of them. I've got San Fran ahead of them. I've got the Giants and the Jets. Everyone's ahead of the Raiders right now. And it's not like Oakland is completely incompetent. The defense played better than I've seen them play in weeks yesterday. The offense moved the ball somewhat. But the Raiders, they just shoot themselves in the foot again and again and again. And when you lose, when you're a veteran team, when you had high expectations, and you bring in a $100 million head coach and everything falls apart, these are hard teams to back over the back half of the campaign. Every player in Oakland knows, there might be 5 of them. Again, we said over under 7.5 players that are on the team now that'll be here when they get to Vegas. Shoot, I may think 7.5 players in the roster now that are on this team next year. So, the Raiders to a man know they're not going to be back. No one expects effort out of Oakland. There are no buttons that Gruden can push necessarily. And Arizona, they were, they were against Kansas City. It was a very flat game for the Chiefs, but there was positive signs and positive growth for Arizona. Josh Rosen threw the football around effectively yesterday. There was a little bit of a running game in that contest. There was a pick at the end that made Arizona backers have a heart attack when it looked like KC might house it on the last drive, but they were competitive and in that game. Of course, when you're talking about laying 3.5, 4 points, it's got to be more than competitive. They got to win this game by margin, and I would anticipate this will be one of the lightest bet games this coming weekend. I don't see a big line move coming here.
Yeah, their defense didn't lay down either. I was watching that game, and something I noticed as well, Teddy. We got 4-7-1, 4-7-2, Pittsburgh at Jacksonville. Looks like the Steelers laying 6 or 5.5 on the road, 47.5 the total.
Look ahead line 3.5, and I've downgraded I downgraded the Jags off of yesterday, and my power rating number is only Pittsburgh -4. So there's there's certainly you're seeing here in the betting markets that the Steelers are getting some love, and there's nothing for Jacksonville right now, nothing whatsoever. The sharp money came against the Jags at post yesterday, which surprised me a little bit. I thought there would be some late Jacksonville money, and it didn't show, and that was right. And Bortles played well. All right. Bortles played well. Fournette ran the football, and the defense didn't show. What's happening in Jacksonville doesn't look fixable right about now. Yesterday was a circle the wagons game, and it was, literally, it was the defense. I don't think I've seen more blown coverages from the Jags in the Marone era than I saw yesterday. And they stepped it up. They played better in the second half. But again, it's a very hard team to trust. The markets trust Pittsburgh as a Super Bowl contender, and this line is not going down. There's a 5 out there, a penny right now, 5.5s across. It can only go up. The markets are crashing and will crash on Jacksonville. But again, look ahead 3.5. My powering number doesn't say, even with the downgrade off the Jags yesterday, that you should be laying 5.5 or 6 with Pittsburgh in this spot. But I'm confident the markets are going to move in that direction.
Guys, we got the Monday night game to end it. And just a reminder, we got the coupon code Teddy60 at checkout. No spaces, all capital letters. That's Teddy60 for 60% off his NBA 3-pack tonight or his 7-day all access on Sportsmemo.com. Two good packages there to check out at the website. We got the Monday night game here, Teddy. 4-7-3, 4-7-4. Kansas City at the LA Rams. 63 the total. Looks like 2.5s pretty much across the board. That's the Rams laying it at home in LA.
Yeah, no, this is in Mexico City.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, neutral site game. We've already seen Rams support in this game. And I apologize. I think I wrote down a 1.5. The Rams opened 1.5 last week.
I'm seeing that
look
too.
ahead. Yeah, and my powering number here is a pick'em. on a neutral. The Rams have been a point spread disaster area. You know, they had that 3-0 straight up an ATS start. They covered one spread since then, that game against the 49ers. That was over by halftime. That's it. And again yesterday, you know, a defense that got gashed. And it's one thing when you're getting gashed by New Orleans on the road. It's another thing when you're getting gashed at home by Seattle, and the Seahawks are running the football at will against you. It's a tired football team right now. They looked at yesterday. I'm surprised at the market support for them. But the markets won't love Kansas City. You know, Kansas City, their statistical profile is still dicey. You look at the Chiefs, and they didn't score 30 yesterday. What's wrong with that team? You know, the wise guy. There is no wise guy love for Kansas City. That has continued. That will continue. And this line more likely to be a 3 than it is to get back down to the pick 'em or the 1 range. I don't see the urgency, but necessarily. But you can count on the Rams going off as chalk on Monday night next week and potentially laying even a field goal. But I'm just looking at the early bet percentage. Yeah, I'm not seeing that it will. I'm not sensing it will get to 3, but it's more likely to get to 3 than it is to get back down to pick 'em. I wouldn't be surprised. It's a heavily bet. It will be a heavily bet game. And, of course, the total we have to talk about because somebody claimed they have accurate numbers back to 1976. I don't buy any of the numbers. When someone says I've got accurate numbers for the 70s and 80s, yeah, I don't buy it. Nobody has accurate numbers from the 70s and 80s. I can tell you this, from 1990, this is the highest total in NFL history. You know, that's the wise guys will bet this game under. I'll just put it that way. 63.5. There's 64 right now at Bookmaker, and there will be sharp under money. Whether you're cash or not is another question, but it's inevitable. It's a given. There will be sharp under money. So if you like the under, bet it under. Either bet it under at post at some square book, or bet it under right now. Because 64, 63.5. Those aren't going to hold.
So Teddy, seeing 64 at Krish right now, and
yes.
That's the highest posted total in NFL history.
Yes.
Wow.
No, I can't say in NFL history because I don't know. I don't believe the numbers that I see pre 1990. I'm not convinced of any of their accuracy.
Okay.
You know, remember back in those days, they didn't even have the boards in Vegas. They would write down the numbers and change them. You know, there wasn't even electronic boards.
Oh, so there wasn't like a record of it, really?
No, some of the Gold Sheet has numbers that date way back. But again, you're trusting the accuracy of a number from 35 years ago that you don't even know where he could consider. And back in those days, in the 80s, where the number closed at where it closed at the Dust wasn't where it closed at Caesars, wasn't where it closed. You know, it wasn't like they had the Don Best screen back then where you could this is what the market is. You know, it's like this book's over here, and you walk across the street, you might find a 2-point difference. Literally. Very, very different era for sports betting pre-computers.
All right, good stuff. Good history lesson there, Teddy. Thank you. So 64 might be the highest total, definitely since 1990. Good information there. And guys, we'll be back tomorrow with the NHL podcast with Andrew McGinnis. Remember the coupon code Teddy60 at checkout today for his 3-pack in the NBA. Also available on his 7-day all-access Teddy60 for 60% off. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll be back tomorrow.